Hello everyone, so today I'm going to do a challenge-ish and I will try to make a drawing by just using the selection tools, this tiny tool right here. So in the first part I'm going to explain how to use the tool and how I'm using the tools, and the next part I will probably speed up the drawing process just a bit. So anyway, I restarted the program Clip Studio to its default settings. So I think you will be able to see all the tools that are already default. Otherwise you can just go on Clip Studio Assets and just download the full package. Okay, so anyway, the short key is the M key. So you just press the M key to choose the selection area. And here we have a bunch of different shapes. So if I go to rectangular, and I do this, I actually have free hand, so I can choose whatever shape I want to. But if I want a perfectly square shape, I can just press the Shift key and it will automatically snap to equal length and height. Okay, that's what I was looking for. And also you can deselect by pressing this button, and if you go to ellipse you can actually do the same thing here, so just freehand it if you want to, or if you want a perfect circle you press the Shift key and make it a perfect circle. Okay, now this panel and this panel, it's available for each and every one of these options, so let's talk about them a bit. Okay, so the good part about the program is that if you don't know what each of the tools are doing, you can just hover a bit on them and just see a short description. Okay, so moving on, let's pick this one, and if I just choose new selection, every time I'm going to make a new selection, it will delete the previous one. If I press this one, I can add as many selections as I want, and if I press this one, I can erase parts of it, what I've already selected, and if I choose this one, it will well, ignore the rest and just pick whatever you have selected. And you can use this panel for the rest of the options here. Now let's say we choose an ellipse and go to this one. Okay, now you can't see the difference very much, but if we fill it up with color and let's say make another ellipse next to it. Oops. Okay, this one, let's choose this one, a strong blur, make another ellipse next to it. Now if I zoom in, you can see this one has a sharper line than this one, and this is because of this panel. Again, this panel is also available for the rest, so let's delete this one. And let's just, I guess, make some lines and go back to this one or this one, which one is fine. And let's select it and let's talk about this panel down here. Okay, so as with previous panels, if you hover over them you can see what they're doing. So if we press deselect, we're going to deselect the selected area. Here we're cropping the whole canvas based on the selected area. Let's Ctrl Z. We can invert selected areas, and now we can draw outside the line. Okay, and we can press it again to reselect the circle. We can expand the selected area, let's say by 50 pixels, or we can shrink it. Let's go with 80 so we can see the difference. Okay, we can delete the selected area or just press the delete keyboard. We can cut and paste, so now we have two layers. Or we can paste it and it's the same thing. Or we can just press Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Or Control X and Control V on another page. Let's Control Z everything, and we can scale and rotate. So if I press this one, I can move the selected area around, and if I press the Control key, I can move it by individual parts. So you can also access this if you right click on the mouse and just free transform here. Same thing, or go up to edit, transform and free transform. Okay, we have the fill. It's going to fill the color with whatever I have chosen here as a first color. Okay, and we also have new tone, and here I can add a different pattern. So let's go with 10. Okay, and we can edit this later. We can edit this one up here in the layer properties, or if we can't find it in Windows, layer property. Okay, so we can have the tone or the color, or maybe just one of them, or maybe two, and just you can play around and see which one you like. So we can also change the shape, the density, and if we select it, let's reverse select it, and we go up to the operation object, we can add different gradients to it and play around. So we can have actually very nice effects just using the select tool. You can use this panel for different objects, just make sure you select something. So let's go and delete this one. Okay, it's rasterized and now I can delete it. Okay, and let's go back, and let's also delete this layer, and let's go back. So lasso tool, you can select shapes that you want to. This panel works the same, so I'm going to select more shapes, and this one works the same. Polyline, you're just making straight lines, so it's really good if you have a more geometric pattern. Okay, the selection pen is going to select a line, whatever you're choosing. The erase selection does the same thing, just one selects and one erases. I mean, they're kind of the same, but maybe you want to use them differently. Okay, and next is the shrink selection, which I don't have anything on the canvas, so it's not working. So let's draw something. I'm going back, and if I select parts of it, nothing is going to happen, but if I select it Holly. Okay, now it's working. It's actually selecting whatever it was on the layer, and you have different options here, so you can play around with them. And yeah, now I can do things with it. Okay, so all of these are for different types of workflow, so you can, choose whatever feels comfortable for you. One more tool I want to add, and I thought it was here, but actually it's not. You can find it down here where you have the figure. If you click on it, you have the lasso fill, which is the same as the lasso. It's just automatically filling it in. So instead of going to lasso fill, do this and just press this one each and every time you want a new shape, you can just go down here and just use the lasso fill. Oops, let's deselect. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this one up here. Okay, so you have it on a different area, so let's get it back. Okay. There. Now I added it here. Sometimes it's not clipping properly, so just have a little patience. Okay, good. So I will be using mainly these tools to make a drawing. So let's see how that is going to work. Also, one more thing before I forget. If we have a shape here and we go to select tool, whatever you want to, and we go to transform, we can use free transform here. We've already talked about this one, but if we still have the selection on and we go to edit, we can do mesh transform, and here we can move the points individually. So that's one more cool thing you can do with the selection tool. Okay, and when you're done, we have a brand new shape. And you can play around with other tools like skew, but most of the things you can just do it with just the two, the free transform and the mesh transform. Okay, and if you saw it unselected like before, it's because I was already having another effect on it, and it was still processing it. So like now, if I go to transform and this one is transparent, so I can't click it, I just need to press OK on whatever I was working up until now and just go to mesh transform. Or if you don't like the funny looking shape here, and let's say I want an ellipse here, I can just go select an ellipse and just mesh transform it. Oops. And also Ctrl Z if you've done any mistakes. Okay, let's delete it, and let's jump into the drawing. Okay, so we're back. I'm making a new layer, a new file layer, a new canvas layer, and since I didn't quite know what to draw, I started off by using a brush. Yes, I'm sorry, I cheated just a bit. For the sketch I did use a brush, but it's only for the sketch. The rest of the drawing is indeed made with only the selection tool. So either way, I decided to make a fan art, and I'm preparing every layer and folders. So on first try, I was thinking maybe I should just use the selection tool and just completely draw the line art with the lasso fill. However, I didn't quite like the results, so I spent a bit more time on the sketch while I decided what the best approach would be, and actually contemplating how I can make this whole drawing just, well, not using any brush. So I went back to the selection pen and just tried it out a few times. It worked better, a bit how I would like my line art to look like, but it was still a bit difficult for me. So I did spend a few times just doing and redoing everything. And in a short period of time, I actually got used to just using the selection pen as a brush for the line art. Now, I actually forgot about this, but you can indeed make the selection pen having a pen pressure option. So when you select the selection pen, if you look down at the brush size, you will see a small rectangular, and if you click on it, you can actually add pen pressure to this tool. So it was quite useful, as I like having a variety in my line art. Now, I would say the whole process actually took me longer than if I would just use a brush. But on the other note, you can also get used to it. Let's say you also have different options like pen stabilization, and overall I think the process it's pretty similar with just using a brush. So overall, a good technique to use if you want to try it out. I had to go back a few times and just use the lasso fill to make the lines a bit thicker in some places. As usual, I take a lot of time just doing the line art, but it's a process that I like, so I guess each has their own preferences. And here I'm using the select tool in combination with the transform tool just to repair some parts of the line art. It's okay to just spend time and just move things around to see if you like them better. Because after you place color, it's going to be a bit harder to make small edits like this. And when unsure, just make a new layer and maybe add a new sketch underneath it. You'll see in many of my drawings I do and redo a lot of the sketches in different colors. At this point I think it's been around 1 hour since I've been doing the line art, so I gotten pretty used to it and the process went a bit faster. Alright, and if you're using the mesh tool, mesh transform tool, you can change the number of horizontal and vertical line points. You can see that property in the tool property, so it's good info to know about. But all in all, everything I've talked about in the first part of the video I'm actually using here. So there's nothing quite new. It's just about selecting, deselecting and just free transform or mesh transform or any other option you saw in the first part of the video. I think in this drawing I just haven't used the shrink selection and the eraser since I didn't quite need them. All in all, I think I spend a lot more time just doing the line art with the selection tool. I think it would have been faster if I would just use a normal brush, but I think that's just a habit, I think. I mean, I just got used to just using a brush, so maybe if I'll use the selection tool to just make line art, I will be a bit faster in time. As always, it's all about practice, so you should, use tools that you're either comfortable with or you like to use. Or, also test it out and see if you like it. Here I made the hair under in a different color just so I won't get confused in the lines. And I'm just using the circle as a sketch reference. I won't actually be using it till the end. But it's really good if you just want to maintain a round shape and use it as a reference. Oh good, well I'm kinda almost done with the line art. It was fun but a bit tiring because almost each and every line that I took I had to go back to the lasso tool and just erase parts of it. I wanted to stay as true to the challenge as possible, so I haven't used an eraser. I just use select tool and just erase or delete parts of it. So all in all it was a bit more time consuming. But I did it, so it's possible, and it was also fun. And I learned a few tricks along the way, including the selection pen that actually has pen pressure. It's just a bit hidden. Okay, so I'm moving on to coloring, so I actually use the select tool to just fill the background color. And now I'm adding a pattern. Use the select tool to duplicate the character and make extra line art and outer line and a bit of shadow with the pattern. I'm also using the ellipse to make a few extra dots. And I had to use the gradient just a bit because I felt like it needed more color. So at this point I wanted to use the lasso fill to fill everything up, but it was taking way too long. And since I already had the line art, I just used the wand tool or the auto select tool and just select every main item and add it on a different layer. So in this case I've only separated the hair, the skin and the outfit on different layers, and I'm locking them and just continue using the lasso tool or the lasso fill to change colors to them. Now if you're unsure, you can just use different layers for each and every color. However, in my case I kinda knew where I wanted to go with it, so I just used these 3 layers to work on them. At this point I'm just mainly using the lasso fill. It's actually very handy and very fast to use. And I'm adding different variants of shadow and highlight. And now the truth be told, if you want to make a more painterly type of drawing, I would say you might have a harder time making the whole drawing using the selection tool. But for cell shading type of drawings, I think it's perfect and very easy to use and you can get very nice effects. So the selection tool worked very, very well for my style of drawing, or this style of illustration that I wanted to do. That's usually well-defined colors, and I guess very little gradient or mix between colors. Well, the hair is almost done. I'm actually going a bit back and forth between colors. I mean the reds, the pinks and the grays, and just add extra lines with the selection pen in different colors. I feel like adding this extra color lines is making the drawing look more detailed and maybe a bit more fun to look at, because you have this impression that I'm using a lot of colors, which in fact is mainly the main color, a highlight, a shadow color, maybe an extra shadow color, so maybe around 5 or 6 for each tone. And here I wanted to test out the selection pen again, but with the texture on it, so I added a few polka dots on the highlight of the hair and also added a bit of gradient to the dots. Okay, so I'm moving on to the skin layer, and I'm kind of doing the same things, just using the lasso fill and just making different shadows and highlights, and a bit of the selection pen with extra colors to make the drawing look more vibrant. And I would suggest, if you're doing a drawing, just work a bit on each and every part, because sometimes if you get stuck on working on just one part, you might have an impression that it's taking so long to finish a drawing. And I feel like this gives you the impression that you're going to finish faster. Okay, so I'm adding a few more details. I added a new extra shadow just so I can use the selection tool on it and add a pattern. So for the last steps, I'm just going around on the outfit and just add a bit of shadow and a bit of highlight and a bit of extra shadow. And for the pattern, I'm using the select tool and erase parts that I don't want to appear, and also make it a bit transparent. So it was an easy to do pattern. And now I'm just going around the whole drawing and just adding a few more details. But it's almost done. And for the last part, I'm zooming in and just working on the eyes. And just a few more details if I notice them. But yes, I have given myself a challenge, and I'm happy to say I accomplished it, kinda. Minus the sketch that I made with a brush. And also at the end, I did use the airbrush to add a bit of a blush to the character. So yes, challenge completed, kinda. For the last part, I'm merging the folder, duplicating the layer and just switch up the colors a bit, and also erasing parts of it, or duplicating the drawing again and just switch up the brightness and contrast, and again deleting parts of it. So it's a fast and an easy effect to do. And that's all. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.